What's going on, guys? Welcome to this Noobs guide to the new Rat King boss, Scurrius. Let's jump straight in. The location of this boss is in the Varrock sewers. You can get there by going down the manhole just to the east of Varrock Palace, and then as soon as you go down, running all the way to the east until you can see these bars. You can fight this boss in two separate instances. There's the public instance where the Scurrius boss is at level 250, and there's the private instance where you can fight it solo and the boss is level 200. We're going to be going through a guide to fighting the solo boss. Now, this boss is recommended for lower combat levels, around 50-60 combat, so the gear requirements and recommended inventory setup are going to be fairly low. You can see here I'm going to be fighting the boss in a full rune setup with a rune scimitar, combat bracelet, explorer's ring, and some climbing boots. And you can see in my inventory we just got swordfish, prayer potions, and a superset. If this gear setup is too much for you, you can even downgrade it even more. If you don't have the rune plate body or the rune plate legs, you can use monk robes to just boost that prayer bonus a little bit more. If you are able to pray through the entire fight, you should take very little damage. So now we're going to move on to the mechanics of the fight. Once you go through into the private instance, you're going to want to drink your super attack, super strength, and super defense before you start the fight. The mechanics of this fight are actually quite complex. There's quite a lot to pay attention to while you're fighting him. The first thing you can see in this fight is the rubble that falls from the ceiling. This leaves shadows on the ground so that you can avoid it. You are going to want to make sure to avoid these. This is the highest damaging mechanic in the fight, and it can deal up to 22 damage, so make avoiding these a priority. We are going to be praying melee for this first section of the fight. Scurrius does a tail whip attack which can hit up to 13 melee damage, so protect from melee will negate all of that damage. So as long as you're fighting him in the middle of the arena in this first phase, keep protect from melee up and avoid the falling rubble. And that is it for the first phase of the fight. Now, once Scurrius reaches 80% health, he will make his way to one of the three cheese piles around the edge of the room and start healing up. In this phase, you don't need to protect from melee, but the rubble will still be falling from the ceiling, so make sure to avoid that. In this phase, he will attack using either ranged or mage, so you need to switch your prey depending on what attack is coming. The mage attack looks like some blue electric that comes from him, and the ranged attack is a green dusty cloud. Now make sure to switch prey before the projectile hits you and you will take no damage. At various points throughout the fight, Scurrius can summon these giant rats. These giant rats can hit through prayer, so there is no point protecting melee against them. You want to just make sure that you're praying against Scurrius himself. If you are struggling with the damage that these deal, you can attack them. For this fight, I'm going to ignore them and just let them hit. They only hit a maximum of 4 damage, so they don't do a huge amount. Now, once Scurrius finishes eating the cheese pile, he will melee attack you almost straight away, so you need to make sure you switch your prayer back to melee as soon as he finishes eating. You can see the eating animation before he does his attacks, so as soon as you see the eating animation finish, you need to switch back to prey melee, and he'll walk back to the middle of the room, and the fight will repeat like phase 1. These two phases will then effectively repeat themselves until he gets down to 30% health, so keep in mind you still need to make sure to avoid the rubble and protect from melee when he's attacking you in the middle, and then switch between prey ranged and prey mage while he's eating at the food piles. Once Scurrius reaches 30% health, he will then move to the center of the room and will no longer attack with melee. He will attack exclusively with ranged and mage attacks, and he will do so at a much quicker rate than he was when he was eating at the cheese piles. So you need to make sure you can flick between the two prayers fairly quickly, and also he will still continue to drop rubble on you. This is the potentially most difficult part of the fight, but failing the mechanics is not as punishing unless you get hit by the rubble. And that is all of the mechanics that you will deal with in the Scurrius fight. Remember to clean up any leftover rats once Scurrius is dead. They will just continue to be there. They don't die when Scurrius dies. And also remember, you can eat from the cheese piles once every 10 minutes to fully regain your health. Scurrius respawns about 15 seconds after you kill him in the private instance, so make sure you've topped up your health and your prayer and you're ready for the next fight to begin. Now let's move on to the rewards. Before we get on to the rewards, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already picked up your Old School Runescape makeship plushies, you can do so now. There is only 1 week left until the campaign closes, and you won't be able to get them again. Remember, you can use code PANSGAMING at checkout to get yourself 10% off. This does stack with a multi-buy discount that is automatically applied on checkout, so if you want to get yourself all three, that is 15% multi-buy discount and an additional 10% off by using code PANSGAMING in checkout, or you can follow the link in the description. Now, as Scurrius is a low-level boss, the rewards for killing him are significantly lower than most other bosses in the game. However, they're not totally useless. The big reward that you're chasing is Scurrius Spine. Until you get one of these, your kills are going to be a little bit slower, but once you do get one, you can use that spine with a selection of items which I've shown on the screen to make the bone weapons. Bone weaponry can be used exclusively against Scurrius and increases your max hit by 10. Now the bone mace, the bone shortbow, and the bone staff are all best in slot weapons for killing Scurrius, especially at lower levels. They will increase the XP per hour that you get here significantly, and that will make this a very useful training method for medium to low levels. Scurrius also has a fairly decent drop table. Each kill is worth roughly 9.5k, mostly drops rune items, alkaballs. There's a few supply drops on there to extend your trip, prayer potions, and some cooked food to make sure that you can stay in here for as long as possible and get those maximum XP gains. Now, the main incentive for fighting Scurrius is the XP per hour. It is a very valid training method at lower levels once you have the bone weaponry, because any additional spines that you get can be traded in to the person outside of the lair for some combat XP. You can get 5,000 XP in any combat stat apart from prayer, in which you can get 3,500 prayer XP. This makes killing Scurrius one of the best training methods for lower levels because of the increased max hit from the bone weaponry. And that is pretty much it. That is going to be it for this guide. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoy fighting the new Scurrius Rat King boss in the Varrock Sewers. If you have enjoyed the video and you want to see more RuneScape content from me, please be sure to leave a subscription, drop a comment down below, and let me know what you think. Hopefully you guys enjoy killing this boss, and I'll see you around soon. Goodbye.